Welcome, AFM, to Tom Talk Season 2. That's right, we were renewed by the network for a second season of this glorious talk show, which I know you all enjoy so very much. So, just to give you a heads up, this wardrobe was provided by Styles by Mary. That's right, Styles with a Z. Mary Allen, my own mother, provided these sweet new sunglasses this past birthday. This hat from a couple Christmases ago. This sick pinstripe suit coat from high school. And let's not forget this awesome Terrell Davis jersey from when I was like 9 years old or something. You know how kids have, some of your kids out there wearing like 5T, 3T clothing? Well, this is an 18 to 20. So that's right. I still fit in my shirts from like when I was 10. So maybe I was a really fat 10-year-old or this was a really big shirt on me. I don't know. It could go either way. Maybe a little bit of both. But anyways, I'm trying to channel this year. I don't know if you saw in the draft grade video, I had a suit on. You know that kind of like cool professor look, like in college or high school, you had that one professor who was like really cool. You're like, man, this guy, he's just living the dream. You know, he's always schmoozing with the students, always has the really exciting stories. Might have been a mediocre teacher. Looking back, you realize like that guy was probably hanging out with the students so often. He didn't have any real friends. So maybe, I mean, I would like to think I have some real friends, maybe some of you guys in this league, but maybe after this video, you wouldn't want to admit to being related to me or friends with me. I don't know. But I'm also trying to channel that Indiana Jones, Pennsylvania Allen kind of look. He was a professor of archaeology. I'm the professor of stats for this league. He's got a signature hat. I got a signature hat. And speaking of stats, let's not forget what the video that I created was all about. The holy grail of AFM historical stats. That is mainly why I'm here with you. I'm kicking off this season of Tom Talk to provide you with your historical stat of the week. It may not be in video form every single week. Next week, for example, I plan to do my annual week 2 hot takes write-up. And built into that write-up, you will see yet another historical statistic. But more on the historical stats later. We did have a week 1 this week. Last week, Mike and I handed out our big draft grades. Whoop! Turn that around. Based on how we thought you guys drafted in this first week of the season, we're finally starting to see, were those grades accurate? Were they terrible? Were you terrible? Did you light up the scoreboard? Did some of the people I gave an A, Michael Sparing, totally let me down? Did some of the people I gave a B, like my wife, who you said I was biased for giving a B, live up to that draft grade? And maybe some say should have actually gotten the A based on our first week. But let's get into it. So in our first matchup, we had the Cookie Monster squaring off with This Will Only Hurt a Little, which our league seems to have this weird issue sometimes where our team names end up representing our actual teams. The one year I was the Tamakazes, I do believe that was the year Ron Rodgers broke his shoulder, and I soon went on a 8-game losing streak after that. So my team really just crashed and boomed. We've had Billy last year, who came up with a team name no one understood the reference for. Lost his first 3 games after receiving much criticism from me on the team name and his team just doing terribly. He fixed it and went on a winning streak. So our league seems to have this weird thing with team names, which is maybe why people like Stock Up, Cimarron Steelers, the Cookie Monster just stick with their own steady names year after year because they don't want to have their team name screw them up. Well, this year, Peter's that guy. This will only hurt a little. Is starting to hurt a lot, as all of his players are hurting quite a bit. Week 1 of the season, loses his number 1 draft pick, Tyreek Hill, on about the, 4th play of the game. Joe Mixon goes down in the first or second quarter of his game. Devin Funchess, who wasn't starting, but still, maybe one of his prospects, also breaks his shoulder. And let's not forget, this is the guy that drafted Lamar Miller, who tore his ACL as we were drafting. So he's feeling the pain, and his score did too with a mediocre to low 84. While Kate, with her team drafted by Dennis, came out with a solid 94, led by Marlon Mack, 27 points, and gets the Defense Special Team Player of the Week award, as her defense and kicker combined for 26 points, which was more than if you combine, you could take about 4 or 5 players on Peter's team and they didn't even combine for 26 points. So Kate came out on top with a solid start. And then we had the Battle of the Mike Allens. Who would reign victorious and take the crown for the Mike Allen Award? Senior versus junior, father versus son. It went to Junior in this case. The son taking over for the father. Maybe the old man just can't keep up anymore. Junior, with an Austin Eckler explosion of 32 points, led him to a solid victory to make up for his Baker not showing up to the kitchen performance. Whereas Senior, outside of a solid performance from his tight end, Evan Ingram, and Chris Carson at running back, saw pretty mediocre performances, but did get to a good score of 104. It just wasn't enough. So victories go to the youngins. In the Fournette Awakens versus Mom Rage duel, Priscilla has come in last place the last 2 seasons. She does not want to get that license plate again, and she came out on fire, saying, give it to someone else. I'm scoring 119 points with 39 points on her bench in one Sammy Watkins, who her husband told her to bench. In trying to prevent her from getting the license plate, he is getting her dangerously close to it. Because, while she put up 119 points, she only won by 15 as Dennis with his Dak attack. And Josh Jacobs' rookie explosion and Le'Veon Bell, all the running backs Michael criticized in the video, who came out hot, but blew it by playing a defense against the hot Kansas City Chiefs. Dennis, I understand you drafted Jaguars high, but maybe pick a different defense to start the season, as they scored -8 points. So Priscilla, one step closer to handing off that license plate to somebody else. In the return of the Kraken versus Monday Night's Watch, a battle of siblings, the sibling rivalry in the Sparing household. In the words of Liam Neeson in Clash of the Titans, release the Kraken, or re-release it in this case, as Kristen is picking up right where she left off last year. She was a top 4 scoring team last year. This time puts up the second highest score of the week, with her team rumbling, bumbling, stumbling over Michael Sparing, with David Johnson, Dalvin Cook, Mark Ingram all scoring a minimum of 19 points. Whereas Michael, on the other hand, had 2 players put up a big giant goose egg, and Devontae Freeman, who was one of his higher draft picks, and Eric Ebron, who was a tight end, was hoping would have a good quarterback, but we all know what happened with that situation. And in the Butcher Block Madness Rock and a Half Chub duel, which was this week's Charmin Ultra game of the week, because this was a toilet bowl game. 58-78. Some of the lowest scores in the league were scored But when it happens in the same game, it means one of them actually gets to win. So Billy, who had the third lowest scoring team in the league, runs away with the victory, while the likes of Mike Allen and Dennis Kelly, who both put up 104 points, recorded losses this week. Outside of Billy's Patrick Mahomes and kicker, his team didn't have a player scoring more than 7 points, but it was just enough, as Bobby's team, who was drafted by celebrity drafter Kelly Olynyk. maybe Kelly's good at basketball, but we're going to have to question his drafting skills. 58 points in week 1. Didn't get to play Antonio Brown for reasons we all know about already, but that's just a terrible score. And in my face-up matchup of the week, I squared off against my father-in-law and was not willing to give him a win. Maybe that will be a bad decision later on down the line. But in my defense, when the other team's highest scoring player is a kicker, Greg the Leg stepped up to the plate. But when your kicker's your best scorer, that's not a good sign, folks, and it leads to your butt getting kicked. So Dave just had a bad start to the season. He seems to start slow, rebuild his team on the waiver wire. I'm sure he'll be all right by the end of the year. But Lamar Action Jackson came out throwing, which is not what I expected. Threw for 5 touchdowns, got me 34 points. And between him and DeAndre Hopkins, took my team to my first victory of the year. So enough for the recap. Let's get into what we've all been waiting for. Oh, and to mention, last year, our league was under some fire from feminist groups as not a single female made the playoffs. But this year, watch out for the girl power, as Kate, Priscilla, and Kristen all start off with a victory. 2 of those have 2 of the 3 highest scoring teams in our league right now, with Kristen and Priscilla putting up 120 and 119. It was Girls Gone Wild Fantasy Football AFM edition week 1. We'll see if it continues into the rest of the season. So with all that being said, let me read you a lullaby about what is football all about? In the words of the legendary Herm Edward, you play to win the game. So this week's and the inaugural kicking off of the historical stat of the week, we will focus on winning. So we have 8 years, 8 seasons of historical league history, just to keep that in mind. Who has the most wins? Any guesses? I'll let you guys throw some out. No, not that one. Pretty close with that one. And the answer goes to, drum roll, please. I hate to say this. I should have started with a different stat. He's at least not here in this video with me, and we don't have to hear about it for now. It pains me to say this, folks, because it's not me. But Mike Allen Jr., ooh, he does have the most championships in our league with 2, so it's not overly surprising. But over those 8 seasons, he has won a total of 62 games. Next up, number 2, this guy, 57.5 wins. That comes from a tie I had a few seasons ago. Nipping on my heels. You know, we all talk about how biased I can be, but the 3rd highest win total in our league history goes to none other than my beautiful wife, Kristen, with 56. Falling in behind her is Bill Grapsel at 54, and rounding out to the top 5, we'll stop there. So, I mean, if you guys want me to go through the whole list, sure, why not? But the top 5, so you can say you're in the top 5 at something in your life. Pete Allen with 53.5 wins, as he also recorded a tie at one point. Just to run through the rest real quick, Bobby, 51. Number 7 is Dave with 50. Dad, number 8, has 45. Number 9 is Michael Sparing with 43. Number 10, Priscilla, 43. Dennis, 1142. And in last place, I am sorry to say, Kate Kelly with 29.5 wins. She's a bit off the lead there, but when you go 0-13 in the season, it's hard to catch up. Now, some of you are sitting there going, but wait, Tom, come on. I get it. Mike's won 2 championships. You've won a championship. But you're missing something, right? What am I missing? Exactly. Not everyone started in our league at the same time. So, let's break this down NFL stat style to account for when the league has teams like the Panthers and the Buccaneers and the Houston Texans, who are expansion teams. Winning percentage. All right, that shuffles things up a little bit. Needed a water break. Water bottle also provided by Styles with a Z by Mary. Number 1. Let's just get it out of the way. It's Mike Jr. again at number 1 with a 59.6% win percentage. So, no surprises there. Number 2. This guy. All right, you're like, all right, so this is going in no part. This didn't change anything. But wait, folks. I was at 55.3. Right behind me, nipping at my heels again, is a Sparing child, but it's actually Michael Sparing with a surprising 55.1% win percentage. So he went from number 9 all the way up to number 3 when you look at the win percentages. Because he hasn't been in the league as long as the rest of us and has really turned it on in the past few seasons. Took him a while to get to the playoffs, and now he's winning championships. Right behind him, his own father, Dave, with a 54.9% win percentage, and Kristen drops in at number 5 at 53.8. So we see how the top 5 makes a Sparing shuffle as 3 of them jump into the top 5, whereas in the wins total, only 1 of them was there. So it makes quite a bit of difference when you look at the win percentages. Rounding out the rest real quick, Bill with a 51.9% was number 6. Pete at 51.4% was 7. My father stays at 8 again with 49.5. Bobby, number 9, 49. Dennis, 46.2 at 10. Priscilla drops a spot compared to the last list to 41.3%. And yes, that does mean, Kate, I'm sorry again, you were at the bottom. But 0-13 kind of does that to you. If we trended this in the last 3 seasons, you'd be much, much higher. So there it is, folks. You play to win the game. The winningest team in our league is Mike Jr., highest winning percentage. I'm number 2 on the list. The Sparings kind of make a jumble right behind us there. But 2019 can change a lot. We have 8 years of data, but a solid season from anyone could shoot them up that list. A terrible season can tumble you down the list, especially because Kate's getting better, so she is climbing upwards. Don't be climbing downwards. That's all I got for this episode of Tom Talk. We will have more of these throughout the season. We will have so many more historical stats. We got highest scoring team in league history, lowest scoring team, worst team in league history. We got best single game scores, worst single game scores, all sorts of fantastic breakdowns of these Funburs, because the Funburs are going to be exploding this season as we look back on how our league has formed. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Go out there and win some games, except for Michael Sparing this week because I want to win and I'm playing against you. So with all that being said, good luck, AFM. Have a great day.